Howdy folks, my name is Reddy Opko, and welcome back to part number 11 of Let's Play The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. In the very last part, we cleared out Dark World Dungeon number 2, adding 3 crystals into our collection as a total. And in this part, we're going to be moving on to Dark World Dungeon number 3, but right before that, I think that we've got some business that I would like to take care of before we get on that. So I'm trying to think of the best way to actually get this handled. I believe I'm going to hit the Fluterino here. See if I can't get a better vantage point in the light world here. Trying to remember where exactly all of the portals are. So there's one that is right here that I'm basically standing on top of. There's one over by 7, 6, and 3. I think 3 is going to be my best interest here. Go ahead and take the Kakariko Village entrance into the Dark World. This is going to help us out. Get to basically every location that we are aiming to get to in this part. So, got a couple of things that I want to get done here before we move on into Dungeon number 3, which is going to be a relatively fast affair. Dungeon 3 is another situation like Dungeon 4, where it's very, very complicated the very first time that you go through it. It's really confusing, you don't really know where you're supposed to be going. It actually has a lot of trap rooms, a lot more than 4 and 2 had. In fact, 2 didn't have any trap rooms, what am I talking about? It has a lot more trap rooms than 4 had, so it is a much trickier location to get through, in my opinion, but once you actually know how you're supposed to get through it, it becomes much, much, much less challenging. As soon as you know the actual path through there, it's so simple, actually, that it's kind of a joke. Like, it's probably the most, polar of the dungeons in that fact, that once you know where you're going, it legit probably takes 5 minutes to get the item and clear the boss. So, like I said, before that though, we've got some business to take care of. Gonna try and fill up the time of this episode. I would hate to leave you guys with a short part. It's such a rude, terrible thing for someone to do, you know? You get all excited for your daily Reddy Opko video, and then it's what, this is 15 minutes long? No, I'm here for 25 minutes, my dude. You know, you set expectations and then you fail to meet them. It's not a cool move, and it's generally not a good look. So, avoiding that, whoa, little Dark World Octorok? I have totally forgotten that these enemies existed. I don't remember these at all. Which is weird. I remember the vast majority, like, everything but these. Everything but these I remember about this game, basically. Like, weird little Octorok dudes. Well, that's cool. I like the purple and orange color scheme on them. It is very, very neato. So, see what this signpost over here says. I don't usually read these, but I think this one might be interesting. Curses to anyone who throws anything into my circle of stones. Circle of stones? You mean like this one over here? Well, I'm gonna disregard your advice and hope that you do curse me. Last time I got cursed, I got half magic power, so I can only imagine what kind of curse this is gonna give me. Oh dear. Oh no. The ground is rumbling. Whoa! That is a big old fish. That is a huge fish. Will you disturb my peaceful nap? I will give this to you if you go away. Sorry, I was trying to imagine him talking through the water, and he throws us a very strange item indeed. What could this possibly be? You can go ahead and pick it up. This is the Quake Medallion. Its magic causes the ground to shake and defeats nearby enemies. Watch your magic meter. So, that is a very interesting item, the Quake Medallion. I think that I have cleared all of the... Oh, well, I guess there is one right over there. Yeah, I might as well use it, even if it is only on one enemy. Ah, look at how cool that is. Whoa! Turned him into a little onion dude. Turned him into a little onion guy. I'm not sure that I've ever seen that sprite before in my life. That is some really cool stuff right there. So, yep, Quake Medallion at the cost of just a tiny bit of magic, although you can only imagine how costly that could have been if we did not have the half magic upgrade. At the cost of a little bit of magic, it gives us the ability to basically do a screen clear, which might actually be useful to us in the future. I believe that the Quake Medallion is one that is necessary for us to collect. It is going to be an essential tool for us later in the adventure, and unfortunately it seems that I have fallen into the water here unintentionally. I really like the black and green water of the Dark World. It's a really cool look. Black and green is one of my favorite color combinations. Oh! this is the whirlpool that I was thinking of earlier that brings you down into Lake Hylia really early. So you can actually get down there without using the hammer, if I'm remembering right. So let me see where this actually takes me. Ah, so it was over on this screen over here, not... Okay, I am understanding now why I was having so much trouble finding this whirlpool before. But this is actually going to put us closer to our destination here, our final destination, I believe. Actually, this might not have been the best possible way to go here. Okay, well, let's rearrange the way that we're thinking of things here. See if I can't magic mirror in a decent location here that won't put me straight in the water. Most locations are going to put me straight in the water anyways, but as long as there's dry land nearby, we can call our faithful duck friend, get our fast travel right on out of here. I actually learned a cool trick about the duck is that if you walk to the leftmost of the screen, he actually picks you up a tiny bit faster, which is a really cool feature that they did not have to do, but they went ahead and did it anyways, which is really great. It's actually a speedrunning tactic. In speedruns, every time you call the duck, you walk over to the leftmost of the screen, because it is a little bit faster. And I love little things like that. That is why there's a really good video that I recommend you watch if you haven't already. There's a YouTuber that I follow by the name of HBomberGuy. He's really great content in general. I enjoy all of the stuff that he has put out to date. What specifically was the thing I was... Oh, he makes a video about why speedrunning is awesome. Okay, that's where my brain was trying to be like, what was I thinking about? It's a video that he has that is talking about how cool speedrunning is, and I think that you should go watch that video if you haven't before, because speedrunning is one of the coolest parts of the video game community. It represents generally the most dedicated and hardcore people in any given games community, and the amount of things that they actually find out and dig into about games is really incredible. Like, it's so cool, the number of things that we wouldn't have known without speedrunner tactics to teach us them. So just a cool thing. I've never actually watched a speedrun of this game. I've watched speedruns of, there's a ROM hack of Link to the Past and Super Metroid put together, so items from both games appear in the other game, and it's really interesting. It's a randomizer. So yeah, that one is really cool, but I've never seen an actual speedrun of just the game. Hold up the Master Sword, and you will get the magic of Bombos. Does the Tempered Sword count? Because I really hope that it does. And it's actually really cool that it shows the screen effect there for you. Falling from the sky is going to be another medallion. This is the Bombos medallion. Its magic makes the ground explode with power. I think this is the one that is actually not necessary, if I'm remembering correctly. I think this is the one indeed that you don't need in order to beat the game. Because I think Quake, and as you can see, there is a slot in the middle here. We may indeed be grabbing a third medallion. I think that Bombos is the one that is not required, so if you choose not to grab it, I do not blame you. It may make things a little bit quicker for you, who knows. It is a very effective screen clear, and I think it uses a little bit more magic than Ether does, or I sure hope that those... No. Okay, what are the two medallions I have? I have Bombos and Quake. Okay, I'm sorry, I spoiled the name of the third medallion for you. That is my mistake. But either way, we're going to be moving right on with things. Now we can actually finally get into the third dungeon, like I had been teasing at the very beginning of the episode. We've gathered the requisite side items that I wanted to go ahead and take the time to grab, so why don't we hop on in here? And as I was mentioning before, this is going to be a relatively fast time, or at least I'm going to do my best to make it so. Like I was saying before, the third dungeon can be very confusing on your first go through, but on every successive go, knowing where you need to be in the dungeon makes things pretty easy. So, what I was mentioning in the very last part, as I was completing the Swamp Palace, the second Dark World dungeon, is while I would like to try and give people the experience of playing a game for the first time, I genuinely don't think that is best for me or my enjoyment of a game. The way that I tend to enjoy games is, as I had mentioned in an earlier part of this series, is I really enjoy going into games knowing as much about them as possible. I understand that there is a pool of people that can, and I can totally get behind the idea that some games are better experienced going into them blind, with as little knowledge about them as possible. However, I don't think that is a blanket statement that you can just apply to every given gamer. I don't think that it's fair to tell someone, oh, your experience is ruined because you have knowledge of the game. I think that it's just how different people enjoy games differently, is all that it is. So, I'm going to be, I might, there may be parts in this dungeon where I stop talking momentarily because these hand enemies, these are, wall masters, I believe. Wall masters will take you back to the very entrance of a dungeon should they actually grab you, and it is a genuine threat. The only warning you get is the sound of them falling from the ceiling, so I'm gonna be trying to listen out for that as best as I can. But continuing what I was saying before we got a... Oh, stupid floor masters. I absolutely hate those things. Here's the big key, already, right in the third dungeon. Like I was saying, as long as you actually know where to go in here, you can grab everything that you need to grab very, very quickly. So, nab the big key and get on out of here as quickly as possible. What I was mentioning before about trying to do things as if it was like my first time playing, I understand the value that some people get out of people doing Let's Plays that way. I think for me personally, I'm going to actually try and step away from that. I'm going to try and show you the best way to do stuff, because that's just how I personally enjoy video games the most, and I think that will end up making for the best content overall. Me being able to just show you, you're like, yeah, just do the thing. It's as easy as pie. You just actually have to go through all of the steps here. Yeah, so I'm hoping that you can see through this, however, that this dungeon could have been extremely confusing had I not known all of these locations beforehand, had I not went and done my practice run of this dungeon beforehand, even. It can be extremely, extremely confusing. The first portion of the dungeon, it's kind of split into two portions. This first, it's a lot like dungeon number 4 in that way. This very first portion has a lot of small keys and doors that you may not know where exactly you're supposed to be going. This whole area is very confusing, but getting through here very quickly is going to get us the fire rod out of the big chest. This rod commands the red fire, but watch your magic meter. I was also mentioning in the last part that I might be interested in doing dungeon number 5 before tackling this dungeon. Let me tell you that you need the fire rod before going to dungeon number 5. I found that out the hard way. As soon as I stepped through the door, it was basically like, hey, no, you have to turn back. Get out of here. It was a little embarrassing, honestly, but I think that's okay. With the fire rod in hand, we can now get a move on. I believe where we are going to want to go is through the left of this skull. Oh, and I should mention, that is the name of this dungeon indeed. Dungeon 3 in the Dark World, the Skull Woods. Sorry that I said that all weird. I was kind of like choking it out. That was really bad there for a minute. The Skull Woods is a super cool name for a dungeon, and I really like the concept, these different entrances. There's so many different entrances to the dungeon that using a magic mirror can actually, give some unexpected results. Say if you fall through the ceiling into one of the portions of the dungeon, using the magic mirror will return you to the location that you fell at. It does not return you to an actual entrance. I thought that I could actually use it to perhaps cheat some keys into this final area, and I'm sure that I could do that still if I really felt like it, but we'll just avoid that. There's no reason to actually go through with that. can just go ahead and avoid the entire first half of the dungeon basically this way, and it's much more comfortable this way. You just get right on into the second half of things now. I may have made a mistake, though, in that just like the last part, I practiced like halfway through the dungeon, and then I was like, no, you know, I'm sure that I can do the rest of it with no issue. I'm sure it'll be totally fine. And I'm hoping that that is going to be the case, but of course here's our first death. Does not surprise me. It's a good thing that I packed in these 3 fairies in a bottle. Although this does leave us with only 2 of them now, I'm gonna have to be extra careful with how quickly I go through those for sure. Oh, this area is really obnoxious. You can't see what's under the pathway, and there's a whole bunch of stuff blocking your way. And I think I'm gonna have to go through the spike traps, no? I'm assuming... Yeah, if I want to get that chest. Oh, no, it just makes you go through the spike traps going back up towards the room. You don't actually have to do it going down. So that's kind of mean, but I actually think this might give us a fringe use of an item. Oh, goodness, this is a bad bunny transformation. These mummies hurt. Okay. This is going to give us a fringe use of an item that we haven't actually gotten a use for yet. I'm going to go ahead and pop on the magic cape. You know, actually, I don't need to do this whatsoever. I can just avoid the spike traps like normal, save my magic meter. Well, looks like the magic cape is actually going to stay useless for just a little while longer. I promise that we're actually going to get an important use out of that eventually. It's not going to just sit in the inventory and clog things up, but it might be a little while before we actually get all the way around to that. Ah, these fireballs and their hit radius is absolutely no fun. Okay, we actually managed to make it. This reminds me, this area with the pathways that block what you can see under them very much reminds me of dungeon number 4. I can see how they went from here to dungeon 4. And I believe this room is going to have a wall master. Yep, couldn't make things easy for us, could they? It is a little tricky to get all the way through this room, but if we do things like... Oh no! Oh my goodness, I thought he grabbed me there for a second and my heart stopped. My heart legitimately jumped right out of my chest. That was very scary stuff. Oh, I hate the wall masters. I really genuinely hate them. I didn't ask for this. Oh, is that an instant kill? Oh, well, hey, so it is. Apparently if you use the fire rod on the mummy enemies, it is an instant kill for them, so you don't have to swing your sword. I think they take 3 hits even with the tempered sword, so they are very chunky enemies. They take a lot of hits. And we're actually not going to be needing the fire rod for very much, as it turns out. So I'm none too concerned about using it to go ahead and clear those mummy guys out. Okay. Getting into a hairy situation here. I would absolutely like to save my fairies for the boss if possible, because this is going to be one of the harder bosses in the game. Okay. Do I have to kill all the enemies in this room? I'm assuming that is what I would have to do in order to get through here, considering I don't see any other avenues. Perhaps there's a key under the skull? No, indeed, it was inside the mummy all along, and I think this is going to be our final room of the dungeon. And I'm just gonna fall into the hole. Sometimes you can do a cool tech and like bounce off the wall into the hole, but I'm gonna dive straight in, because we're already low on hearts. And this is the boss of the 3rd dungeon, Mothula. Clearly a play on Mothra from Godzilla, and this guy is indeed a giant moth, the perfect boss for a dungeon set in a dark forest, you know. So this is boss right here. This guy is the entire reason why I went and got the tempered sword early. Yep, that's it. That's literally it. You only do a couple of hits, and I was so distracted talking that I forgot to equip the boomerang. It's okay. We'll get it a couple more times before we get out of here, but grabbing the tempered sword early is massively important because it makes Mothula an insanely easy boss. Otherwise, the floor is moving, all the spike traps on the walls move, he's shooting beams at you. It can be an extremely difficult time if you don't take the time to grab the tempered sword upgrade first, so I definitely will recommend forever and ever that this is one of the better sequence breaks in any game. It is just so good.
Dawson, because of you, I can escape from the clutches of the evil monsters. Thank you. Do you know the prophecy of the Great Cataclysm? This is the way I heard it. If a person who has an evil heart gets the Triforce, a hero is destined to appear, and he alone must face the person who began the Great Cataclysm. If the evil one destroys the hero, nothing can save the world from his wicked reign. Only a person of the Knights of Hyrule, who protected the royalty of Hylia, can become the hero. You are of their bloodline, aren't you? Then you must rescue Zelda without fail. Do you understand?
I'm sorry, I was starting to crack up towards the end. It's hard to maintain that with a straight face.
May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce.
16 hearts. Oh, that's such a good number. And of course it's gonna kick us out right back here in the Skull Woods. Alrighty. Oh, I can't believe that we've already done it, folks. We've only got 3 of 7 left. We are officially past the halfway point. But these remaining 3 dungeons are, of course, going to be the hardest that we've come across so far. I hope you weren't thinking that we would have an easy time in store, because rather quite the opposite. It's going to be tough as nails, but I'm ready for the adventure, assuming that you guys are. Oh, can't use the flute in the Dark World. What I meant to do was go to the Light World and then use the flute. Before I end this part off, I'm actually going to go ahead and get us into the area for the next dungeon, because it's a really short jaunt away. It's basically right at a fast travel point, and the area that you get into the Dark World is indeed right at the very front of the dungeon. It'll just make things really easy for me for the next part, and hopefully easy for you guys as well. So I had displayed it beforehand that there is a Dark World portal down here, and if you were astute at looking at both versions of the map, you can notice that dungeon number 5 appears to be in this southeastern corner of the map here, so see if we can pull this portal up and see exactly where it's going to deliver us. And hilariously enough, it delivers us right to the entrance of dungeon number 5 here. So I think that I'm actually going to go ahead and take a dip inside the dungeon, because these bomb guys are very, very dangerous. They deal 2 hearts of damage very quickly, so it's actually safer at the very entrance of the dungeon here. So head on in. You can see that we've got a very blue and white color scheme. Can't imagine what this dungeon is going to contain. So I hope you guys have enjoyed part number 11 of Let's Play The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And I hope you'll be staying tuned for part number 12. My name is Reddy Opko, and I'll be seeing you there.